George Peppard despised him more than anyone else. George Peppard was born in Detroit, Michigan on October 1st, 1928. Peppard learnt the value of hard labor, strength and independence while growing up in a working-class home. George Peppard Sr. His father was a building contractor, and Vernal Rohrer, his mother, had been an opera singer. This was George's first taste of the performing arts. George had a strong mind and a creative flair from an early age. He proceeded to Purdue University and the Carnegie Institute of Technology, which is now called Carnegie Mellon University. There, he studied drama and started to learn the talents that would help him succeed in show business. Peppard's first job was on stage, where his strong training and natural charm immediately won over critics and fans. He got his big break in the late 1950s when he started making movies. This gave him a new vitality that set him apart from other leading men of the period. In Home from the Hill, 1960, one of his earliest praised parts, he impressed Hollywood with how deep his emotions were. He became known as a great actor who could play a wide range of roles, from romantic heroes to tough, serious ones. During the next few years, he became a Hollywood sensation after playing opposite Audrey Hepburn in the classic Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961. His role as Paul Varjak, a writer who was having a hard time, made him famous. Peppard's career took off in the 1960s, and he starred in a wide range of movies. One of them was The Blue Max, 1966, in which he played a brave German aviator in World War I. He showed that he could make characters who might not be likable seem authentic in this part. Peppard was also in thrillers, romantic dramas, and westerns, showing that he could fit into any type of movie. He was a leading guy who could carry a movie with both charm and believability since he was good-looking, confident, and focused on his acting. The 1970s were a harder time for his career. Even if he enjoyed success in movies, there were fewer jobs available as new performers and directors took over Hollywood. Peppard didn't give up, though. He got parts on TV and kept working hard. In the 1980s, he played Colonel John Hannibal Smith, the cigar-smoking, disguise-wearing leader of a group of soldiers for hire in the hit TV show The A-Team, 1983-1987. This was his most famous role at this time. This show made him popular again, especially with younger viewers, and it made him a real TV icon. "I love it when a plan comes together" is one of the most recognized lines on TV. George Peppard's reel. Life was equally as exciting as the parts he performed on screen. He was married 5 times, and each marriage marked a new chapter in his life as a man and an actor. In 1954, he married Helen Davies, his first wife. At the time, he was just starting out in Hollywood and trying to make it as an actor. The pair was together for 10 years, during which time they went through both good and bad times as George's fame grew. But even though they were close, they got a divorce in 1964, just before Peppard became famous with Breakfast at Tiffany's and other hits. Peppard married actress Elizabeth Ashley in 1966, not long after. Ashley was a well-known actress on stage and in movies, and their marriage got a lot of media attention, because they were both recognized in the entertainment world. But their relationship was problematic since Peppard and Ashley both had strong personalities. Their son, Christian Peppard, grew up to be an actor and writer like his parents. The couple were divorced in 1972 after 6 years together, even though they loved each other very much. Their son stayed close to both of them and was a huge part of their lives. Peppard married Sherry Boucher, an actress who has been in movies like Walking Tall for the 3rd time in 1975. Peppard was still a major name in Hollywood at the time, but his career was shifting slowly as he started to play older, more serious characters instead of young leading males. Their marriage lasted 4 years, but they broke up in 1979. This is another story of love and anguish in Peppard's personal life. In 1984, he married actress Alexis Adams for the 4th time. It was short yet noteworthy, ending in 1986 after just 2 years. This marriage, like his previous ones, proved how hard it was for Peppard to maintain his relationships strong. His personal life was considerably harder since he was famous. He was stubborn, and he was well known for his fight with drinking. But later in life, he did beat his drinking habit, even if his marriages gave him both joy and grief. Being a father was Peppard's happiest time. Bradford and Julie were his children from his first marriage to Helen Davies, while Christian was his child from his marriage to Elizabeth Ashley. Peppard maintained close to his kids, who were the most important people in his life, even though his relationships were rocky. In his latter years, he often remarked that being a father was one of his greatest accomplishments. It gave him a feeling of purpose that his love affairs never did. One of the most interesting things about George Peppard and how people saw him in Hollywood is that he really didn't like actor Buddy Ebsen. Peppard was renowned for being vocal, and occasionally hard to work with, although he usually kept his thoughts about other performers to himself. But things were different with Buddy Ebsen. Peppard made it very plain that he didn't like him. Peppard said in interviews, "I never liked that man," without beating about the bush. Not at all. Buddy Ebsen was the one person I really hated more than anyone else I worked with. The reason for their hatred goes back to when they were both famous on TV and in movies. Many people liked Buddy Ebsen for his portrayal as Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies, a sitcom that ran in the 1960s and made him famous. George Peppard, on the other hand, became famous for serious acting parts. He was known for his beautiful looks and dramatic performances in movies like Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961, and subsequently as Colonel John Hannibal Smith on the TV series The A-Team. Peppard and Ebsen worked together when television was quite popular, but Peppard didn't like Ebsen's style of light, funny acting. One of the first things that made them angry with each other was their different styles. Peppard once said, "I couldn't stand his style. To me, that false hillbilly act he did wasn't acting. It was just acting to make people happy." Another reason they didn't get along was because of their personalities. George Peppard was proud, occasionally cocky, and very serious about his job. He would regularly fight with directors, producers, and co-stars if he thought the work wasn't good enough or if individuals weren't acting professionally. On the other hand, Buddy Ebsen seemed placid, but he was also strong-willed and could look down on those he didn't respect. When these two people met in Hollywood or at industry functions, there was sure to be trouble. Peppard later remarked, "He acted like he was the wise old man of Hollywood, telling folks how things used to be. I didn't want his advice. I thought he was full of himself and incredibly irritating when no one was looking." Gossip and politics in Hollywood made their rivalry worse. Some people said that Peppard had tried out for parts that Ebsen also desired, but Ebsen got them instead. Peppard trusted the rumors, even if they weren't all accurate. He added in a fit of rage, "Hollywood is a cutthroat place, and guys like Ebsen act like your friend while stabbing you in the back." I never believed him. Peppard was very angry, and a lot of it was directed toward Ebsen. It wasn't simply job, it was personal. People thought Peppard was refined and sophisticated. He often hung around with high-class people and was known as a ladies' man. Peppard thought Ebsen's down-to-earth persona was false, but people embraced it. Peppard commented in a scathing way, "What people saw on TV with Buddy wasn't who he really was." He wasn't Jed Clampett when the camera wasn't on. He was cold and calculated, attempting to act like an old man who knew better. That false attitude made me sick. Peppard's animosity for Ebsen was different from how he felt about other people since it was so strong. Peppard routinely fought with directors, producers, and co-stars, including Mr. T on The A-Team, but he still thought they were talented. He didn't respect Buddy Ebsen at all. Peppard stated, "I could respect a man I fought with on set because at least it was honest. But Buddy, never. I loathed him more than anyone else because everything about him seemed false." There was considerable anger, even if the conflict was mostly one-sided because Buddy Ebsen didn't say much bad about Peppard. Ebsen usually kept his mouth shut and let his long career speak for itself. But George Peppard's wrath never went away. His remarks on Ebsen illustrate how much he cared about honesty and respect. Peppard said that Ebsen failed on both counts, which made him the one man Peppard hated the most. On May 8, 1994, George Peppard, an American actor best known for playing Colonel John Hannibal Smith on the A-Team, died in Los Angeles at the age of 65. He died after a long fight with health issues, especially lung cancer, which made him weaker as he got older. Peppard had smoked a lot for much of his life, which hurt his lungs a lot. He got treatment for cancer, but his body was too weak to fight off the pneumonia that killed him. Persons frequently call pneumonia the old man's friend because it commonly affects persons who are already sick or frail. It was Peppard's last bout, and he couldn't win since his body was already worn out from fighting cancer. He died in Los Angeles, which had been his home and the place where he worked for his whole career. His friends, family, and admirers were all very upset when he died. They recalled him as a handsome, great actor and a strong